This is an active rest day practice for the upper body. It is designed to support you throughout your cycle, but specifically in the late luteal phase, your premenstrual kind of menstrual phase. So, in that time when we feel a dip in energy levels, maybe you are not feeling the motivation to show up to your workouts, but you still want a way to get your body moving, to get your blood flowing in a way that's going to feel very restorative, very supportive for your body. So, this one is active rest. That means it should feel the same as if you were taking the complete day off, but it helps you stay in the practice of showing up in this daily ritual. I think that's so important, especially in the beginning as we are building that movement habit, to keep showing up so that we keep both our brain and body in that practice of committing to even just 10 or 15 minutes of movement. It keeps us in the practice of showing up. So we'll do that today. We have 11 different movement patterns. These ones very soothing for the upper body, designed to promote range of motion in the shoulders, a little bit of core integration so that you can really connect to those deeper layers of the core, but again, without overexerting. So this one should feel very steady around that 50% effort, and you'll walk away without having broken a sweat, but hopefully you will feel just more movement, more energy clearing throughout the body. Maybe you are coming in with brain fog or a little bit of fatigue. My hope is by the end of this practice, you feel a little bit more awake, more clear, and that you can move through the rest of your day with greater ease. It's also a great one to use at the end of the day, just to kind of release any tension that may have accumulated throughout your day to support restful sleep, especially in the late luteal phase or that premenstrual phase where we tend to see more sleep disruptions. This one can help kind of relax the body, drop you into a moving meditative state before you lay down to rest. So again, this one comes in at about 22 minutes from start to finish. But if you're wanting something even shorter, just that practice of showing up, you can join me just for the first round. That one will be around 11 minutes long, and you can just call it good at that mark, or you can stick with me for the full 22 minutes. And you might find that once you get started, once you get moving, at that 11-minute mark, you're wanting just a little bit more. So you're more inclined to stick around for the full 20 minutes. Again, it won't leave you feeling depleted. This one is designed to support your recovery. So it's a great complement to use in between your strength days or in place of your strength days during kind of those lower energy times in the cycle. So the last 3 to 5 and the first 3 to 5 days of each cycle, this is a great practice to use so that you're still keeping your muscles awake and online, but in a very gentle way, in a way that's going to support your body. So now let's get into today's practice. Let's begin our active rest practice for the upper body today. This one, again, it counts as a rest day. So we want to make sure that the exertion is very low, that you're in that 50% range of your maximum effort. So it's really just designed to create some spaciousness and openness throughout the upper body. And it's something that's just to keep you in the habit of showing up even on your rest days. So today we have 11 different movement patterns that we will enjoy for 45 seconds each, with 15 seconds to transition in between. If you want just a quick 11-minute practice, something just to get your blood flowing and again, keep you showing up on your rest days, you can move through just a single round with me, or you can stick through both rounds for a 22-minute practice. So still short and sweet, enough to just get that circulation moving and to promote recovery on your rest days. So I will get our timer started. Our first movement pattern starts in a tabletop position. So you can head that way now. Start to set it up with the shoulders directly over the wrists, the hips over the knees. I want you to tone the low belly by hugging the hip points toward the low ribs without rounding in the upper back. So stretch the heart and the crown of the head forward. We're going to take arm circles here with a little bit of flow in the hips. So let's begin now. So we reach the arm back. You can bend the knees, reach toward your back hip, and then come back through tabletop. So circle the arm back and forward. The focus here really just being on the shoulders. So if it's uncomfortable at all to bend your knees all the way through that full flexion, you could just stay in your tabletop and find these arm circles. Again, we're in active rest mode. So nothing too strenuous. We don't want to push through any discomfort. We really want this to feel supportive, like it's promoting recovery between your strength sessions. We're here for about 5 more seconds, and then we'll stay in tabletop for the next movement pattern. So we'll come back through center, reset if you need to, press firmly through all 10 finger pads. Then I want you to rotate the upper arm bones out, almost like you were trying to turn the eyes of your elbows out, but then keep those facing to the center toward each other. And then we're simply going to tap the elbows down and press them back up. So it doesn't look like much from the outside, but what I want you to feel is the integration around the shoulders, the outer arms. We're keeping the spine neutral, so then the spine just moves with the arms here, down and up. You might feel a little bit of activation in the triceps. I want you to really keep the shoulders relaxed away from the ears. Press firmly through all 10 finger pads. Really focusing on keeping the arms parallel, the elbows parallel, so they're not collapsing out or in. And we're here for 3, 2, and 1. Come on up to a kneeling position. Here we're going to take the arms wide to a T, and we're simply alternating heel taps. So you'll bring one hand to your back heel, reach the opposite arm up, and then open, stretch the chest through the center. Again, keep the low belly active. And as you come through that heel tap, I want you to focus on pressing the thighs forward. So you get a little bit of a stretch through the hip flexors. You can reach kind of over and behind you, getting a little bit of that back bending quality. But again, we don't want it to be overly activating. We want it to feel just like that awakening in the spine. So coming through center, inhale to inflate the chest, and then exhale as you come back. Open it up and back. Here, just a few more seconds. Then we're coming into a side plank position. So we'll transition nice and slowly to our side plank. I want your shoulder to be behind your wrist so that as you come into your side plank, the 90-degree angles between your arm and your body, not between your arm and the floor. You can be on your knees here or all the way up in your side plank. We're coming through a lateral raise. So we'll turn the palm open, reach it overhead, and back down. Close it by your side. Open, reach, maybe send the thumb behind you, and then back down. So again, just working the range of motion in the shoulder here while activating the side waist. And again, if this becomes too much, if it starts to feel more like work and less like active rest, you can always bring those knees down so that you still have that integration with the bottom arm, the shoulder on that side, but you're able to focus more on that upper arm rotation by bringing the knees down. Last one here. And release. We're coming through our downward dog next. So start to lift the hips up and back, pedal out the feet maybe a little bit, wrap your upper arm bones forward, and then soften heart, belly, chest toward the thighs. I want you to start to move the crown of your head toward your thumbs any amount. Your elbows will bend out to the sides, and then press back up. So here we're just creating that strength and stability in the shoulders through our pike press. So you can kind of shorten the downward dog if you need to. And we're just moving along that axis of the spine. So the same plane, we're just sliding the crown of the head toward the thumbs and then back up. Nice activation in the shoulders. And again, you can change the range of motion here. We're really just looking to mobilize the shoulder blades. So you don't have to come all the way to the floor with the crown of the head. And rest, come down. We're going to switch to the other side now for our side plank. So again, same options here. You can have the knees down or come up onto the feet. And we're just reaching up and overhead and then back down to your side. I want you to notice how the position of your palm kind of facilitates the change and the range of motion in the shoulder. So you turn the palm to face down and then back around. So we reach, create that big, beautiful arc, and then come back down. Again, as you come overhead, you might send the thumb toward the wall behind you. Get a little bit more openness in the shoulder. Feel that nice, gentle stretch. And back down. Again, mapping the movement onto your breath, so trying to coordinate those two. And then slowly we'll exchange. So we'll turn down onto the belly. I want you to bring your hands nice and close to the body so that your fingers are behind your shoulders. Hug your elbows in nice and close. And then we're going to anchor the knees to the mat. Press up, half push up, come down. Keep the legs and hips anchored. Baby cobra. Lift your hands off the mat, squeeze your elbows. Come down, tuck the toes, half push up, and then baby cobra. So we're just alternating between these two movement patterns, working the chest and then the back. Again, small movements here. We're not looking to force or overexert. We just want to create some length and some aliveness in the back here. So that baby cobra, you're just wrapping the elbows behind. More than anything, we're looking to get some space in the upper back here. And rest, come up. Next up, we're coming back to our side plank, but this time in our forearm position. So you bring your elbow directly under your shoulder, forearm points directly out. Again, here you can be on the knees or on the toes. This time we're in our reverse fly motion. So I want you to hug the shoulder blades together behind you and then wrap that arm all the way around. Keep your hips and shoulders stacked. And move super slow through these. So really kind of feel how, as the position of your arm changes, what that does to the activation in your side waist. How you can feel when the back comes online. So I want you to imagine your shoulder blades like two palms pressing the back of the heart open, supporting your upper back. Last one here, and slowly come down. Next up, we will move through our upward table to a boat pose. So I want you to turn the heels of your hands in. Right away when you do that, you should feel a lift through the chest. You can walk your heels slightly back. We're going to lift up into our upward table, scoop the tailbone under, stretch the chest. And then as soon as your hips touch, boat pose, just for a breath. Squeeze the inner thighs to the midline. Come back, lift upward table, and then down through boat. You can keep the hands on the floor behind you the entire time. So you might stay in a supported boat here. What I want you to focus on is squeezing those knees and inner thighs together when you come through your boat pose. So try and create that deep core alignment, that deep core integration here by squeezing to the midline. And then we stretch and lengthen. Last one, and rest. We'll come to our side plank with that reverse fly on the second side. So forearm comes down. Again, you can be on your knees or you can be on the feet. We are coming up into side plank. And then it's a reverse fly. So again, we open and then come down. Remember to keep the shoulders and the hips stacked. I know for me, I have a tendency to open my hips toward the sky, but that takes some of the core work, some of that core activation out. So we want to stay in this nice stacked position with the shoulders and the hips. And then we're squeezing the shoulder blades onto the back behind, so you feel that stretch across the chest at the top. And that slow stretch across the upper back as you bring the arm down. Keep pressing down through your forearm, outer edge of the foot or the knees. Last few here. And rest. Slowly come down. We'll come into our seated position once again. Turn the fingers to face your hips. So fingers are facing forward. I want you to hug the elbows in toward each other so you feel a lift through the chest right away. And then draw the front ribs slightly in. We're going to lower back until we tap the elbows and then press the body up. Stretch the chest. So we come down and back up. What I want you to focus on here is keeping your feet grounded, curling the hip points up toward the low ribs, and then allowing that stretch across the chest. And this one might take a little bit just to get the rhythm, to trust your body as you come down, down, down until the elbows touch, and then press the palms to lift up. So try not to focus too much on pressing through the forearms, but instead press your hands to lift the elbows up. Should feel in the belly nice and awake now. That is our first round of this circuit here. You can join me for a second round, another 11 minutes, or you can call it good. That one, just enough, 10 minutes of movement to show up on your active rest days. Otherwise, we're coming through our arm circle next. Nice and easy, just rotating back and forward. Again, today's practice really focused on the upper body, creating space in the shoulders and the upper back. I want you to allow the torso to twist open just a little bit here so you get kind of that space in your thoracic spine so that we can mobilize the rib cage independent of the hips. So you're really keeping the hips square here and allowing the rib cage to rotate. We're here just a few more seconds. And rest. Come back to your tabletop for our elbow taps. So I want you to create a little bit of compression to the center, like you're trying to hug the eyes of the elbows toward each other. Then we're simply going to lower the elbows down and lift them up. Lower down and lift. So again, might not look like much happening from the outside, but it takes a lot of stabilization to send the elbows straight back. It takes a lot of strength and integration to keep the elbows from flaring out as you come down. So I want them to come straight back so that you're pressing the forearms into the mat. This is great mobility for the wrists, the elbows, and the shoulders. So we try to take any other additional movement out and just focus on that bend and extension of the elbow. And rest. We'll come up into our kneeling position next. So here I want you to open up through the chest, and then as you come into that heel tap, I want you to allow the rib cage to rotate. But again, we're keeping the hips square to the front. So this is another way to kind of free the thoracic spine, this upper back that has huge range of motion. When we allow ourselves to utilize it, often it becomes kind of fixed where we don't use that range of motion as often as we could. So here I want you to really find that little bit of rotation in the upper spine as you reach for opposite heels. And if it's too far, if you're not connecting with the heels, just tuck your toes under. That'll lift the heel and make it much more accessible. Should have mentioned that in the first round as well. So we open up, nice deep twist through the upper back. Last one. And come up, coming into your side plank next. So again, if you start to feel that effort ramping up, I want you to go ahead and come onto the knees. I'm going to take that option here for the side plank. We come up and we're just circling the arm down by your side and then rotate through the wrist, bring it overhead. As you come overhead, remember, try to send that thumb back behind you. You can even reach down in front, kind of sweep like you were painting a brush along the horizon. Or you can make it more of that semicircle, moving up and around. Just kind of explore that full range of motion, what it feels like to move forward, back, and around. Any path that gets you from point A by your side to point B overhead, I want you to explore any way to get there and rest. Next up, we are coming into our downward dog, with the pike press. So come into your downward dog, nice and slow here. You might have your hands just slightly wider than shoulder width. And again, we're sending the crown of the head toward the thumbs. Maybe you touch the ground, maybe not, and then you come up. At the top, I want you to focus on relaxing the shoulders away from the ears, so sending the shoulder blades toward the hips rather than shrugging and shortening the neck at the top. So we breathe in as we come down, and then exhale, return to that downward dog. Breathe in and out. Keep it slow and steady. This kind of turns up the work a little bit, but I want you to stay nice and easy through this practice from start to finish. We'll come to our side plank on the other side next. Just make some adjustments to my mat here. So come into the side plank either with the knees up or knees down. And we've got that movement from overhead down to your side. And again, this round, really explore all the different ways that you might move from point A to point B. Maybe you're rotating in front or down to the side, up and overhead. All the while pressing down into your bottom hand and your knees or your feet to create that big, beautiful arc in the side waist. Using your breath here, let it make a sound. Really turn your awareness inward. Notice what you can perceive, where you feel this work in the body. We're going to turn onto the belly next for our hand release half push-up to baby cobra. This time, let's start with baby cobra. Hug the elbows in behind you. Let's lift up, press down, and up through your half plank. So the knees stay grounded the whole time. As you come through baby cobra, your hips are on the floor. We are dropping the shoulders away from the ears, hugging the elbows down pretty far back behind you. So I want you to bring the elbows down by your sides as you rotate and hug them into the midline. So you can feel there's a lot of activation, even though it's a very small movement here. You're firing up the rivers of the spine from crown to tail. I want you to keep the legs heavy and grounded and rest. Slowly come up. We'll be in our forearm side plank next with the reverse fly. So again, I want you to imagine your shoulder blades like two palms pressing the back of the heart open. Let's come into position. Side plank. I'm going to come down to the knees for this one, just to, again, to keep that intensity super low and to be able to notice more. So sometimes when I'm in side plank, a full expression of side plank, there's a lot to focus on just to keep that position. Here, when we bring the knees down, you can feel perhaps the underside of the waist a little bit more. You can focus on mobilizing the shoulder blades a little bit more. I want you to keep a nice long neck here. Keep pressing through your forearm and then hugging those shoulder blades onto the back behind you. Open it up and release it down. Slowly come out. We'll come onto our seat. Next up is upward table to a boat pose. So again, I like to have the heels of my hands in. You can bring the fingers forward if you wish. What I want you to avoid is turning the fingers behind you. We're going to lift up, upward table, scoop the tailbone, stretch the chest, and then come down. As soon as your hips touch, squeeze the knees and inner thighs to the midline. Come back up, upward table, feel that stretch in the biceps and chest, and then squeeze. As you come through your boat pose, make sure that you keep your heart lifting toward the sky, that you're not rounding in the upper back. Lift up, back down, and hug to the center. Breathe in as you come through center each time, and exhale as you come up either into table or to boat. Squeeze and release. Come into forearm side plank on the second side now. So again, this one I'm going to take my knees down just so that I can release a little bit of the complexity so that I can focus more on the task at hand. We open it up, engage the shoulder blades, and come back down. Open nice and wide, stretch the chest, and then feel the lengthening in the upper back. So we have that shortening of the upper back and then the stretch as you come down. Shoulders nice and relaxed away from the ears, neck is long. Hips are stacked. So we're not turning the hips up toward the sky, but they stay nice and stacked. That'll activate the underside of the waist. Breathe here. See if you can take your attention inside, maybe even close your eyes a little bit so that you can notice even just a little bit more those subtleties in your experience. Come down. Final exercise. We are in that seated position. We're going to tap the elbows behind us. So squeeze the elbows in behind you. Keep the feet grounded. Here we go. Lower down. Tap the elbows and come back up. If your chest is pretty tight, this might feel like a lot of stretch across the front of the chest, and I want you to welcome that. Press through the hands to come up. So there's not really any way to get around that space in the chest. You have to feel the stretch to let the elbows come behind you. I also want you to watch for any doming in the low belly. Keep pulling the navel in toward the spine, hugging the hip points up toward the low ribs. We're here for just 3 more seconds. 2, 1, and rest. I want you to make your way back up to standing nice and easy. So come into a forward bend first. Let your head hang heavy, maybe even find opposite elbows. Sway side to side. Feel any release in the lower back here. And then release your hands down. Just one more stretch here. Bring your right hand behind your head and just let that right arm open. So that right elbow open to the sky. You can bend into your left knee here. Keep the weight shifting forward onto the ball mounds of the feet. Just really free the upper spine. And then we'll release, switch sides. So left hand behind the head, bend into your right knee. You can make a peaceful fist with the right hand or keep the fingers down and just twist open. So we're squaring the hips as best as we can, shifting that weight forward and just twisting open. Release. And as you inhale, come halfway up, bring your hands to your thighs, lengthen from crown to tail here. And then slowly we come all the way up to standing. Let's enjoy a big breath in and a slow breath out. That is the end of your active rest day today for the upper body. I hope it felt like just enough to get your blood flowing, get your body moving, but in a way that still feels restorative, like it still promotes recovery. This is a great way to complement your more intense strength days in the follicular phase, or a way just to incorporate more low intensity, but to keep you showing up throughout the luteal and menstrual phases. So I want us to find that something in between that allows us to stay in the practice, in the ritual of daily flow, of daily movement, in a way that's truly supportive and restorative for the body. So I hope you are feeling that for today. I want to thank you for showing up and for letting your body be moved.